What's going on? Oh, back it on up. Hey, now, timeout. Let's bring it on out and let's bring it on in. Come on in here. Hey, welcome on into the Ryan Ripken Show. Hope you guys have had a great Friday. Happy Friday. We're not in the big studio right now, but it's Friday, fun day. I'll be honest, Zach. I am tired as we get ready for episode 115 of the Ryan Ripken Show. 115 is what the kids.
We are lying to everyone. This is not episode 115. We're just making. We might as well say it's episode like 350, 365, episode 365.
Hey, buddy, I decide what we do. All right. And so according to Spotify and Apple, like on the podcast, it says episode 115. Okay.
Unreal. We're probably in the 400s. We've got to be.
That'll be. Well, you know what? If anyone really wants to keep track, you can go back and look at all the episodes. Go check out Apple, Spotify. But hey, hope you guys are doing well. We had a lot to kind of digest. I think we're still kind of digesting whatever you want to consider yesterday's episode. We had two great guests on. We had Trey Wingo, legendary broadcaster, and then we had Ravens now former offensive coordinator, which I guess it's still not technically announced, but it's understood. And he even said it because he's like, my next job. We had Todd Monken. It was the first time Todd Monken spoke publicly, and it was amazing, on so many levels of it. And very thankful for Todd to join us. And that was interesting. It seemed like I got quite a little buzz yesterday and today, to be honest, Zach.
Yeah, it was a good show. That was a lot of fun. Todd was incredible. I did think it was funny though that people were like, "What do you mean former offensive coordinator?" They're like, "Decision we haven't been told." And the entire interview is just Todd being like, "Yeah, I loved my time in Baltimore. So sad to go." And people are like, "It's not official yet." It's like, yeah, from the horse's mouth. More bummed, just as bummed about losing Preakness perks as the job. So
I'm just saying, I mean, if you go into the Preakness and you get those perks of going to get your Preak on, dude, it's pretty amazing. It's fantastic. Now, Todd did mention it's going to be different this year. It's not going to be Pimlico. It's going to be over in Laurel, Maryland, just because of the renovation. So that's the change this year, but it's also change for the Baltimore Ravens and a lot of change around the NFL. So today, what we have on the show for you guys, we are going to talk a little bit of baseball here, okay? And what that means is there's a couple stories. There's one idea that's thrown out by the commissioner that if I could throw my little I almost spilled my little espresso cup, but if I wanted to throw it, I would, because I really don't like what has been proposed, at least from Rob Manfred. We will talk a little bit about some other little tidbits, but it still is heavy football. And football right now, there's some other stories that are going around, especially in the head coaching world, and especially around John Harbaugh, because that's the main one. And we're going to have a guest join us at 6:30 to talk a little bit more about, well, John Harbaugh, maybe a potential Giant head coach in the future, and that'll be Gary Myers. He's been covering a lot of this situation so far, so I'd love to talk with him about what he's seen and what he's heard, and that is one of the choices. But, Zach, later on we're going to look at some possibilities and apparently some demands that are being thrown out there, but we've also heard that rumors, they could just be rumors, because we got that debunked yesterday with Todd Monken. And Trey Wingo, if you missed yesterday, Trey Wingo gave us a little bit more of an insight into receiving those said sources. So we're going to elaborate that on a little bit more. And what else am I missing, Zach? Oh, there's a big arbitration gap in baseball too. Hey, now. Is that it?
Yeah, and the most predictable, if you would say who's the arbitration gap between, I think it's the most predictable outcome you could have, and we'll get into all of that, but just very predictable and honestly comical at this point, the gap between the arbitration for a certain situation. Not surprising, comical, but not surprising.
Not surprising. And last little thing here, if you're new to the channel, and we do have people new to the channel for all the interviews. Todd Monken interviews out, Trey Wingo interviews out. The live streams are all there. We cover a lot of baseball and football here. If you're new and you're just finding us for the first time, thanks for joining us. If you are recurring, thank you. And if you're a channel member, thank you. We do have Ribs Good Kids and Ribs Better Kids. We do have a new member to the channel. Mind, body, light, sound, 10.
Sound.
Times 5.
Love it. I can't.
Literally
physically cannot. And that's the beauty
mind,
of this.
body, light, sound, 10. There you go. But we appreciate it. Helps us grow. And we're excited about what we continue to have in store here. We are still trying to change up our content through 2026. And a little bit of a PSA. The live show will move to 3 p.m. starting next Monday here. So Monday coming up here, start next week, we are going to start the show 3 to 5 for the rest of the year. I got baseball work, but I also want to make sure we're giving you guys the content. So I can't wait. So starting January 12th, we are starting our show at 3 p.m., 3 to 5. And that's the way I like it. All right, where do we want to start, Zach? Do we want to start baseball? Want to start football?
Should we start?
What are you thinking?
Let's start baseball because we're gonna move into football, and I feel like football is gonna be a big conversation just for a lot of things. But let's maybe start off with some football, or with some baseball. Sorry, let's start with some baseball. I know we're everywhere. It's Friday. It's 5:30. It's just
we should have cracked one open. You know what? In the habit in the future, we got to crack one open for the culture. We got to crack one open. Happy Hour Friday. But overall, though, Zach, let's start baseball then. And also to start off the show, I want to shout out our friends over at Merrick Clubs. They have been a huge supporter of us throughout the entire year. Excited to continue working with them. Zach doesn't know what he's getting into when it comes to Merritt's fitness quest in 2026, but I can't wait to unveil that at the proper time. But shout out Merrick Clubs. Check out Merrick Clubs for more information. And when I move, you move, Zach.
Just like that.
Just like that. Let's move into the first thing. This whole Rob Manfred talk about making baseball better. Now, there is one thing I do agree with here. He was talking about expanding teams, an expansion. There's a lot of cities that deserve baseball. I like that idea. I think that is exciting because let's just face it, man, there's a lot of towns and places that love them some baseball. A lot of cities worthy of baseball. And we've heard the idea they want a team in Nashville. They want a team potentially in Charlotte. They want a team potentially.
Why would Nashville want one? Why would Nashville need one? They're getting the Orioles, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Do you forget that? They're getting the Orioles?
Yeah.
Angelos is moving them there.
And moving a new team there now, allegedly.
Yeah. He's moving. All 30 teams are being moved to Nashville, actually. But I do like expansion. Expansion's needed. Everyone else,
and Zach, maybe you can think about it, but for anyone.
Did I lose him? Was it just me who lost him?
Are you back?
Am I back? Or I think I'm here.
I went away.
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm glad that wasn't me. The allegation that felt like a who's sitting on the remote type allegation starting there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm not sitting on the remote.
Is it better now?
Yeah, it's better now. Yeah, we lost it.
I swear, I think it's because his laptop just wants to go. It is humming. You can't hear the humming though, can you?
No, I can't. When I'm in the studio, I can, but I can hear that across.
Slingshot, spaceship, engage. But yeah, chat, let me know what you guys are thinking about. If you'd want to see a city if MLB were to expand. Now, here's the other part then, Zach, where I don't know about this one. And so, Rob Manfred, do we have that tweet anywhere that we could pull up? So, right there, Just Baseball tweeted this out, and it was from Evan Drellich earlier. It said, Rob Manfred has considered the idea of implementing both a split season and in-season tournament to MLB's schedule. I'm going to have to look more and more into this, Zach, but initial thoughts, no. Did I say no a couple times? I don't like the reinvention of the wheel on already so many different things that are going to continue to change in baseball. And I guess for me, Zach, I don't know how other people feel with the NBA. I could give two shits about the NBA Cup.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that would be the same in MLB. Like, it's exciting, but then it's not. You know, the only thing, like, do you have any more like elaboration onto this with this idea?
It's just copy and paste from the NBA right now. I mean, the NBA in-season tournament is like a cool idea in, like, I think it adds something. Do I follow it? No. Do I think that the only people that really care about it are the bench players that get like double their salaries if their team wins and they split the money? You don't have to copy. You don't have to copy what the NBA does at every level. And I don't know why Manfred wants this. In-season tournament, if they want to sit there and say that some regular season games count towards this makeup tournament, fine, cool. It doesn't impact the schedule at all. Go for it. I'll probably, if the Orioles are doing well in it, I'll care. If they're not, I won't. Simple as that. That's like okay, what are we doing here? The split season. It works in minor league baseball because of how much movement occurs over the entire season from April till August till September. It makes sense to have a split season, meaning there's a first half champion and a second half champion. That's okay. I think that makes sense in the minor leagues because the roster you have in April, you might have 5 guys, 6 guys that are the same by the time you're in August, just because of trades, call-ups, send-downs, all of that. It's a new team. So you try to, let's restart the standings halfway through. That way, it gives you an opportunity. It keeps you in. You're not, trying to crawl out of a hole that a team that half the players aren't here anymore put you in. It makes sense. It's fun. It's minor league baseball. At the end of the day, yeah, it was cool when the Norfolk Tides won the AAA championship. I tweeted about it. No offense, did I think of it any time after that? Not really. Every once in a while, I see that Colton Cowser robbed home run. That's cool. But it works in minor league baseball because it's minor league baseball. Could you just imagine if after the All-Star game, the records went back to 0-0? Like you're just, Dodgers won the first half, guys. New season. Like, I don't know what we're doing here.
So Zach, you make a good point on the minor league side, especially for me living through it. You're right. When guys are getting moved up to the big leagues and you're going to continue to continue on up and up and up, the reality of that is the rosters are changing so much because the common goal is to get to the big leagues, not to be in the one level in the minor leagues, right? So roster changeover is significant, and then guys get cut, in the process of it. In the majors, it's one team. You're not going any higher. It's what you have, and that's everything that matters there. Now, I want to point out, in the minors, though, you're right. In a way, it does kind of keep people engaged and involved, and I loved it. I only had one experience of clinching a minor league spot, and my example was we were absolute poo in Frederick playing in high A. one of the worst teams in the league. I get moved up to Double A, where they were one of the worst teams in in Double A in the first half, but they were competing for the second half title, and I got to be a part of that, which we then won the second half. Then clinched. We're popping bottles, dude. And if you ever had champagne go down, it's an experience like no other. Zach, do you know what I was referring to?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
Okay. Yeah. So when you were having that experience, it's a lot of fun. And you're right, though. Like, you move on. Is it going to be remembered by everyone else? No, but it does keep the minor leagues at least competitive. Because in the minors, besides those moments, Zach, it's about development, not about winning as much, which I argue winning is still something you have to learn to do. And guys got to be comfortable with that. But your team could be the worst team in minor league baseball, and you go up to you hit 300, you're going to move up. Like, typically that's how this rolls. Now, on the major league side of this, why I hate the idea of an in-season, because if we're looking at the NBA, to me, this is what happens. It's either no one's going to give a shit about the mid part. Like, the first year, it was kind of electric. Like, I will admit, I was like, damn, this is cool. Like, good for the NBA. Ever since then, it's like great, because if you win that, let's be honest, you win the NBA Cup and you don't make the NBA playoffs, does anyone care? Like, what award you want to raise
hang the
that
banner? I was gonna say, do you hang a banner?
Hell no, dude. So, like, I don't want it to ever devalue the World Series, which it wouldn't. But at the same time, players, after a while, players aren't going to care unless you incentivize it so much that they win money. Then sure. But other than that, don't like it. Expansion, all about get more teams involved, more cities involved. I like where the game is at, but if you try to change that product, I think that's where a mistake's going to be, because the beauty of a 162, you shouldn't get a reset, by the way, on the other side of first half, second half, because if you do that, then you're like, hey, we're dog shit for a half a year, but we can get right back into it. I hate that, because the point
what would have been the vibe around Baltimore? What would have changed? Imagine this. All the guys that they traded, Laureano, O'Hearn, all of them. Why would the Orioles trade anyone if after that atrocious start in the second half after the All-Star game, when O'Hearn was saying, hey, we want to be here, give us a chance, they would be like, tough first half. We're just, new season. And they would be right. Like, and, BT Raven saying trades would stop. I think it would just add so much more to it, because now during the All-Star break, once you go back to 0-0, assuming that would be it, I don't know the exact details, does that become like a trade deadline where now every team is trying to like jam an off season into 3 days, 4 days? Or you all of a sudden, like, going into the All-Star break, you're like, hey, we need a first baseman for the second half because first base was our weakness in the first half. So now you're in the like, it would change so much about the game. Like, it would, imagine if in football, after, hell, the Ravens would have loved if the record went back to 0-0 after starting 1-5. Like, that would be ideal, but that's not how sports work. Like, that's like literally goes against why we're playing the games. It's like we talk about in college football with the, all the voters and stuff, and like the games have to matter. That's why Miami got in over Notre Dame, which they are proving people right, by the way. Like, everyone who wanted Miami out or Notre Dame in, they'll do better than Miami. I don't think so. The games have to matter. And if you are, because I think the way this would be is like, if you win stuff in the first half and then you win something like X amount of playoff spots can be claimed in the first half, then X amount can be claimed in the second half. And then when are we playing the World Series? What are we like? So are we saying the first half, like the Orioles are 18 games under 500 in the first half? Are you saying that the Orioles should just pack it up for the first half? It's like, hey, get everyone healthy. Make sure, hey, we're tossing in the towel. We're calling up prospects for the rest of the first half because we want to make sure everyone's ready for the second half. I hate it. I hate it.
So point being, it's a big, it's a big hell no. No, like that part. You know what I also love with sports, Zach? Like this is the part where if you put in season, so you mentioned the trades, you mentioned all how you could set things or restart, and you could do the pros are everyone's back in it. But you know what? If you have a bad horseshit start, you don't deserve to be in it down the stretch. You got to work your way out of it. That's what also makes sports so damn great is that through so much misery, if you have a great comeback story, that's what people write about. It changes it. I go back to the Washington Nationals being 19-31 in 2019. Right there, their backs against the wall. What makes their journey so much more special is because of that. And for the Orioles, I'll be honest, last year looking at them, they don't deserve a free pass to get back into it. Now, if they changed the rules and they did it that way, then sure, but I'd hate it. I don't like it because the Orioles in that case, it's being rewarded of clean slate. No. You got to come out of the gate early and you got to come out of the gate well and stay afloat. The whole season needs to matter, not just one part of it. So I digress. It's just sugar, man. It gets me fired. You know what? I was trying to relax on a Friday, man, and it's just
2029 can't come soon enough.
I like it.
2029 can't come soon enough.
I don't like it.
You know what? I'm just going to say it. I have never sided with an athlete as much as I've sided with Bryce Harper in this Bryce Harper, Rob Manfred beef. We need to start the hashtag Bryce was right. Like, get out of the locker room. What the hell are we talking about? Baseball is a sport. It's not like if it's entertaining, it's entertaining. I find entertainment in it. Others don't. What are we trying to do? Oh, we got to keep team we haven't. If you started off horrendously for the past 150 years, you were done. But now suddenly you get a reset. I just don't know. What are we doing? What are we doing? We are trying to find a fix to a problem. We're trying to find a solution to a problem that doesn't exist. People get bored of baseball midway through. People get bored of basketball midway through. Football's the only one because there are only 16 games. Like, just dumb. It's dumb.
It's dumb. It is. I hate it. I hate it so much we need to move on because I'm only going to get mad. I'm already pissed, actually. Because at the end of the day, baseball had such a booming year to close this out. They did. They had a great year. You just had the best World Series in years. It was electric. People are firing on all cylinders. You're going, hey, run this back. Don't try to overthink it. Don't. Do the damn thing. Fans are going to keep enjoying it because the playoff setup that you have and the way you have it structured, it works. You want to talk about changing the amount of games? I still don't agree with it, but shortening the schedule is the only thing that you can consider in this. Everything else is a load of horseshit. Zach, what do we have next?
Speaking of a load of horseshit, arbitration has come and gone, and some players agreed to deals to avoid arbitration, and some players did not. One specifically, the Tarek Skubal, I'm just going to say it before we put the numbers up on the screen, put his bid for arbitration in what he thought he was worth this season at $32 million. That was he and his people sat down. They sent that offer of, hey, $32 million for the best pitcher in baseball. I don't think that's arguable. You know, maybe if you want to put Skeens in there, Yamamoto in the playoffs. But Tarek Skubal, Mr. Dominance, the $32 million is what he put. And the Tigers sent in their offer of $19 million. $13 million off is by far the largest in salary arbitration history and sets up for a fascinating hearing in February. I would love to be the judge on this one because I would be like, to be honest, Detroit, 32 is kind of a steal for Tarek. So if you want us to give the real value of like 35, 40, we can do that. $19 million. Has Detroit Can Detroit stop slapping their star players in the face? I've been just ignoring the curls, but can Detroit stop just insulting their players?
So, this is the part of arbitration. You wonder why players get so pissed off. And this is the part of business, which is a great part to explain to all fans out there. When the CBAs come around or business gets out there and people want to look at why players get pissed off or why teams feel certain ways, it's because when you look at how guys are being valued, right? Mm-hmm. And this is why there's such a big gap, because the arbitration period, Zach, for anyone that doesn't understand, but I know you get it. You know what you do? You value what you think you're worth, and the team values what they think you're worth. And you sit there and you go, you know what? This just feels weird, because you know who that pissed off initially? And it started to the decision of, all right, we're going to end up trading this guy because we're not going to re-sign him. He didn't like it, and he was very open about it. It's Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns talked about it after. He's like, yeah, I didn't like that. I didn't like that at all. And I don't blame guys, man. It's such a weird thing. But if you were to tell me right now on this, if as a bystander from the outside, what Scooble's value is, and we're looking at this free agent market, I would have to say I'm going to go more on the side of what Scooble is. If Ranger, okay, let's put it this way. Dylan Cease got $30 million a year. Is Scooble's value less than that a year?
If Cease is getting $30 million, that's what I'm saying. Scooble's getting 35.
But I know the arbitration numbers are different, right? They don't give out 1-year deals as much, and he should break the bank here. But this is the problem with the system, and this is why the CBA is just pissing people off, is because of why they have to continue to redo CBAs is because of this. It's the exact reason, Zach. So, woof, man. I think, but I also want to do that to explain this isn't going to stop the Tigers from extending Scooble, but how this plays out and what happens is going to be very interesting to see how Scooble feels the Tigers value him moving forward.
Ryan, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to be open about it. The Dodgers are not ruining baseball. This is the crap that ruins baseball. It's just, and I get it. It's part of the game. It's all of that. Arbitration is a dance that everyone has to do. It just is so, because they countered with $19 million. And I get it. That's, I know it's like the largest arbitration number for a pitcher. If Tarek Skubal told you he wants 32, the lowest you should have countered was 25, 26. There was a way to go about it without it just being an absolute slap in the face to your star player. And they didn't do it. They just plain and simple. It just $19 million, $13 million in difference. That's just the Tigers, Detroit sports. This is like Detroit sports in a nutshell. And this is why he's gone. There's no way. There's no way.
I think he could still stay. I do. I'm not really worried about that part right now. Right meow. But how this
I'm not saying trade this offseason. I think he gets dealt at the deadline.
Yeah.
I just don't think Detroit can pay him. I genuinely think he's going to get $500+ million. And I just don't think Detroit, with the situation they're in financially, meaning just how much they are willing to spend, I don't know if they can spend $500 on one player, $500 million on one player.
Though, would you spend $500 million, half a bill on a pitcher in today's economy? I don't know.
I know one team that would.
Very well. And you know what? All of it will be deferred at that same point. But that'll be interesting to see. That's going to unfold. It's one of the many situations that's got to unfold here. Maybe why doesn't someone sign somewhere? It would be really neat if someone would sign, but there's so many players that are still free agents here on the 9th. But you know who did avoid arbitration? Zach Ballinger.
Who's that?
Gavin Sheets. According to some people. But you know what? I should probably text him because I said, you know what, dude? I'm a little offended. but I think he did avoid arbitration. So
Good for Gav.
good for Gav. Go Padres. He didn't. He kind of called me out for the pitchers videos, and I said, "Buddy,
Yeah, I saw that.
just wait until somebody signs." Because the crazy thing is, Zach, the only images or any footage on pitchers is facing Gavin Sheets. There's no other footage to go off of. So it should be really good. We'll have some great breakdowns there, and maybe he's hit some home runs. You know,
Maybe
maybe he struck
we'll
out a lot.
find out.
We'll have to find out. Well, if you are new to the channel, hit that like and subscribe button. Ryan Ripken Show. We're live Monday through Friday, changing to 3 to 5 starting next week as we get into our 2026. We do cover a lot of baseball and football here. There's been a lot of football conversations, but we don't want to neglect the baseball talk. So, and we do have a lot of great guests overall for the show. We had Todd Monk and Trey Wingo yesterday. Who do we have tonight? I was going to say, who do we have tomorrow? But it's tonight. We have Gary Myers, who's been following the situation closely with John Harbaugh, especially with the Giants. So we're going to get to that and a whole lot more. And we'll talk some foosball here in just a second. But to help us maybe talk some foosball, or just to talk a little bit about, I'm really curious what he's going to talk to us about. You see him on Locked On Ravens. You see him Locked On Kevin, and you see him popping up on the screen with no camera. Let's bring on Kevin Ostreicher. Kevin, oh, there he is.
I wanted to let you guys do it. I didn't want to mess it up.
Do we have that clipped, by the way, from yesterday?
I hope we don't, but I'm sure we do.
Oh, do we have it clipped? One sec.
Do we have it clipped?
Yeah.
Well, I have this clip.
It's there. I mean, someone is probably.
We had a wild Kevin appear. But I was like, oh.
See, so the first time.
We had a wild Kevin appear.
Okay. The first
Pretty
time,
remarkable.
genuinely, I didn't know what happened. I found out through the comments. The second time, I was like, okay, I'm ready for anything because if it happened one time, it could happen again if I turn this camera on or try to mess with
Hey,
it.
Kev, is your right mic on?
Probably not.
Definitely. I would check.
No.
I can hear Zach's mic. Now I can't hear Kevin at all.
He's switching mics. He just left. He's done. Kevin's done.
Good. You know what?
This
Hey,
is
come here.
just hysterical.
But I was like, oh. We had a wild Kevin appear.
All right. Welcome back, Kevin Ostreicher.
You hear me? Hello?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
It's really like death, taxes, and Kev and his mic situation. There's always something that happens here. The funniest thing, though,
always
was
technology.
me and Todd are getting into it, and I'm like, man, this is good. And then just, pop.
I still feel I feel bad about it because I didn't know. I was just trying to turn my camera on.
I mean,
The best was, I saw it happen, and I was like, oh, shit, Kev's got a question. And I was like, bold not having your camera on for this. And then all of a sudden he just goes back down. I was like, oh, that wasn't supposed to happen.
No, yeah.
You know, the other part, you know what, Kev, like, and I know we'll just get the elephant out of the room. Like, it did ruin the interview.
You're
would've
gonna
taken
have
off
my public removal from the team live on the show right now for
yeah,
doing
I was just sitting there, and it's just like, damn, like,
People
like,
might have watched if that didn't happen.
like what could have happened if Kevin didn't just freaking blow up the interview.
I felt I still feel terrible about it.
I should have asked Todd. You know what? In the future, I'm going to ask Todd
No.
if he's.
I'm getting this weird reputation with people from the Ravens on this show where like something happens and now in the future when you have them back on, you have to ask about me because you're going to ask Draymond about my tweet. And you're going to ask Todd about me popping up on a screen. So I don't know what's going to be next here with some of these Ravens. I don't know.
Gushing.
Okay.
Could be gushing.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, it's always something there. It's always something.
But
you know,
I will tell you something though. I have not gotten Todd's 4th and 1 line out of my head since the interview.
4th and 1 every play. Every day.
Every day.
That was electric. Todd was money. It was great. Curious where he's going to go. And you know, the next part, or actually I was thinking about this. You know, reasons why like when I sat down after, because we'll get to football here in a second, but when I sat down after, and I think why I got such a good response, besides that people like wanted to hear what the hell's been going on, and also just it debunked a lot of rumors. And then we're seeing like Lamar Jackson Entertainment just making comments left and right, like the truth comes out, and I'm like, well, damn, like, but I kind of know that behind the scenes. So you guys know when I see rumors out there are sometimes truth to rumors, and then sometimes it's just like fabrications, or it's built off of something you want to believe. Like I surely do believe there was issues this year. It was evident because the team didn't play well. But to then take it to why it was, that's where it's like, come on. We might be stretching the truth here. There could be some truth, but it got personal, and like that's where I'm glad Todd came on. And honestly, guys, I try to tell like players, coaches, anybody that's still in it, because I understand it. When I was younger, I didn't want to talk to people in the media, or not to the extent of that being that open, because you felt like you're going to get burned. I think that just boosted Todd's just level of, how much people like Todd even more after that. I don't think there was a negative thing I've seen said about Todd. If it was like, hey, I don't like him, or hey, you need to go, but I really respect that man. Man, I'm gonna miss that dude. Am I off with that, or did you guys feel the same way?
I mean, I'll go for it. I will say last night I got into the zone of I was just name searching Todd Monken on Twitter and stuff for a little bit. And it is so funny, just the tweets about people just randomly, like not even tweeting like clips of the interview or stuff, but just like Todd gained so much respect for Todd Monken today. Or people like, holy crap, like Todd Monken's a dog. Like that's my guy. It just, that interview, there was nothing fake about Todd Monken. Nothing. And someone brought it up, and I loved it. Talk about accountability. Talking about the DUI he got all way back when. So many people, if they got something like that, they try to hide it. You don't talk about it. For him to just bring that up and be like, hey, you want to talk about accountability? Like, here's something where I had to stand up and be like, hey, this is on me. Like, this is my fault, and take accountability for stuff. Todd was just unbelievable. Just for 40 minutes. And it's what people don't really know about, kind of the behind the scenes stuff, pull the curtain back a little bit. So many times we get interviews or guys come on, and it's like, we'll be like, hey, 10, 15 minutes. They're like, yeah, 10 minutes. Like, yeah, I got to be out in 15. Todd was like, if we would have been like, hey, Todd, you're good with this being 8 hours, right? He would have been like, let's go. Like, we'll go. He was awesome. He was incredible. 40 minutes.
So can I give you guys my like run through yesterday before how my day kind of started? So I'm doing work at as we just signed the partnership with AutoStream. So I was over off Roland Avenue over there, and hey, shout out AutoStream Car Care Center. Hey, how you doing? But we were going through some material, just some fun content, right? And so I got a call from the other Ryan, and I'm like, dude, I like, all right, I'm gonna put this down. I see like 4 messages. I'm like, okay, if he's quadruple texting me, it's got to be somewhat time sensitive. So then I look at it, and it's like he goes, hey, Monken's in. I'm like, oh, great. Like, for what? And he said for the show tonight. I emailed him because I didn't see the email earlier, and I guess I wasn't on the email back. He just replied, and the message said, I'm good for as long as you want me. And so I go, oh, sugar. Like, people say like, hey, I'm good, but you always want to be respectful. But like he meant what he said. I honestly,
yeah,
I think we could have done another hour then on just the Preakness and horse racing. I think we could have done an hour on college stories, dude. There's some college stories I heard about Monk that I wish that maybe I got to have him on next time and just dive into that. I don't know if you guys remember Charlie Batch at the Super Bowl talked about Monken was, I think, the coach when he was there.
Yeah. I want to talk to him about the Sun Belt. just me personally, because I know other people are SEC guys and everything. I like the mid majors.
I want to talk to him about the high fives in the booth, man. I mean,
Yes.
those are electric.
Kevin, that's the one. I actually got a text about that because it's
Really?
year 3. Yeah, they were like, "Why didn't we bring that up?" Year 3, and we're still high fiving a fist bump. Hey, let the dude. He's in his bag. Todd Monken saying the line. Yeah, he's in his bag. I was like, this is incredible.
Yeah, and no, actually, you know what? I want to ask about the play sheet in the pants. That's the every week it became like a thing. Like people were on play sheet watch. But I mean, that's the thing about Todd is like he's so unapologetically himself, and what people respected about him, when he went to the podium every single time, it was that accountability. Whereas like, a lot of times in the NFL and just within sports, you just see a lot of coach speak. It's like, yeah, we can be better next time. And, we know we're a good team and really proud of the guys and all that. But like, it's rare that you get a coach every single week that goes up there and just says, you know what, we were bad here, or we really need to do this. And it starts with me. And a lot of those answers, he would say, hey, this is what happened, but it starts with me. And that was what he was over the course of the interview too, of just like taking accountability and peeling behind the curtain and all of that. I think is when Zach, you talk about like people gain a lot of respect for Todd. Like I saw that same stuff too. And, the fact that he was able to come on here in a very it's a sensitive time right now in Baltimore for all these guys, I'm sure it's not easy to go through that. And, him being so much like, hey man, I do this, I do it again tomorrow. Like, he seems to still have a lot of love and respect for the organization. I mean, he was in his office. I mean, he was still doing it. Was still in the building. It looked like there, as he was saying. So I think to me, it was just a really cool way to kind of pull back the curtain and kind of get into the mind of a guy who's a very bright football mind. But I mean, how often do you have a coordinator or a coach who's going through a transition like that come on days after and get so real with you and so honest with you? I mean, I can't even remember a time like this. Genuinely might be one of the first times ever something like
and
this.
not try to push an agenda.
No,
it wasn't like he came on bitter.
Yes.
It's one. And that was the exact part, is that we were kind of sitting there wondering, I'm like, is he going to go like scorched earth? Because when you hear reporting now, I really didn't think he would. But what I loved is, and this is why I actually think it was great for Baltimore, and it's great for anyone that wants to listen. And this is why I try to tell you guys, sometimes people want to come out and air dirty laundry and they want to make it about them. Todd didn't come on to make it about him at all. He made it about like, hey, this is what happened. We had problems, but it wasn't. That's the storylines that you want to exist aren't what they were. But the thing is, what I'm saying, like why it clears things up, there's still a cloud over Baltimore. Why? Because they don't have a head coach. They don't have an offensive coordinator, and they don't have a defensive coordinator. They are changing things up here for the first time in 18 years with a head coach specifically, right? So in this case, you're sitting there and going, that makes me feel anxious, but are there organizational issues? Are there real issues? And what Todd did is clear up, no, there's not. We suck this year to our standards. But I got love for everyone in there, and I want to see them do well. So for me, it's like the Ravens are going to be okay. Now they got to go out and pick a good head coach and hire well and go out and win games. But it's not other places where it's literally been disastrous year in and year out. So I thought that not only did Todd raise up for anyone having doubts about Baltimore, but I think he just raised up the idea and showed and proved to people, if you're open and honest, the media is not going to kill you. But if you start talking about crap, then that's where it gets in trouble. And I just think that I would love to see more guys do that. I don't think everyone's going to have the stones that Todd has to do that. But I think what happened was it made people love Todd. And I'll tell you what, man, I'd be shocked if he doesn't have a job, because I almost think in some cases, if anyone had any doubts outside and they saw that, you would want that guy. Yeah. You would want that guy in your locker room. So we could go circling around this.
And
Yeah.
Can I say one quick thing? So when I did, because obviously I talked about this on Locked On Ravens today, because it was
you
the
did?
biggest story in national sports. And of course I gave the shout outs. Don't worry, guys. Don't worry. I gave the shout outs. But I said on that show, it was with Sam Njoku, I said, Todd Monken wasn't perfect this year. He had flaws this year. But you know what the best part about that is? The first person to tell you that is Todd Monken. He is the first person that would tell you, hey, this is what happened. And we heard him say that for like 40 minutes on the show yesterday. And I think that's everything that people were looking for. And again, I think that among the fan base, there were certain frustrations with how John Harbaugh handled some press conferences this year and some of the stuff that he said. But it was just, I saw like multiple comments. Like it was night and day difference to some people in the fan base about how Todd would handle his versus how Harbaugh would handle his. And, you know, some of the vagueness and the not joint, but more like, you know, overarching, like cloudy statements. And again, that's how a lot of coaches do operate. Like Todd Monken is definitely in a category where there aren't many people about how just open and honest and candid he is. But the fact that he is that way, I always appreciated it when he was at the podium, and him coming on the show and, you know, being as candid as he was in a sensitive time, like I said, only made my respect shot. I mean, I was one of the people whose respect shot up for Todd after that interview.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll say with that too, because everyone being like specifically, when you make it too critical specifically to certain people, that's where you got to, when I've realized, that's where it gets murky. I know a lot of people, when you're going to go, the offensive line, how could you throw that out? It's not all on Todd. Of course, he's the offensive coordinator, but also if you want to really create problems and also things you don't do as a team, you don't shit on specific people. Like you don't. You talk about it openly, and it was talked about. It was talked about the struggles that they had as a unit. It was, but it's also ironic in general with a lot of those same guys. They were really damn good in 2024, and they were really damn good in 2023. And so the part of it all was it just didn't work out. But everyone wants to make it more a battle, and it's not that every single time. And I tell you what, Kev, I think with the response that happens, I urge and I hope that more people would want to come on and talk, especially on the show, the Ryan Ripken show, by the way, and hopefully understand that this is a safe space. And I think that if that can happen, not just with me, but anywhere else, I think it could be a great thing for the media world, because at the end of the day, people just want to feel that they can trust. And I don't blame players or coaches for keeping close to the vest, because shit gets out there and then people run with it. And that's the part that bothers people. So overall, I thank Todd for trusting to come on and speak that openly. And I'm really excited about what his future is going to be. And I am eager to see what's going to happen here in Baltimore. But guys, these sources that I've been referring to of what's happening here and why this happens. We also had Trey Wingo, who's just a legendary broadcaster in his own right. He was on and he was freaking fantastic. But I asked him, all right, so we hear all the sources. You hear it all the time per source. Well, my source is telling me here inside the locker room. So I asked Trey about it, and he gave an answer. So let's play that clip. Here's Zach, and we're going to react on the other side.
Anybody that leaks something has an agenda. I mean, let's be honest about it. And it's up to the person receiving that information to try and decipher what that agenda is. Because if someone gives you information and you just spit out exactly what they said verbatim, that's not reporting, that's parroting, right? That's basically say this. So I think whenever information comes out, there's always an agenda by the person who is giving that information. And then if you're the one receiving that information, it is up to you to understand that and then decipher that in a way that is particularly fair to both sides of the equation, the person who is giving you the information about this person and what their agenda might be and what's the reality of the situation. Yeah. So, listen, I've broken a lot of stories with unnamed sources and leaks over the years, and people say, oh, put your name on it. Well, it's never going to work that way. Okay. Sometimes, I mean, like, we should all be happy, smiley people and live in Narnia and never have a bad day and only rain on, between 7 and 8 during weeknights so we can all get outside on Saturdays and Sundays. It doesn't work that way. So a lot of times the only way that information, which comes out in a very tangible way, is you need to get it from an unnamed source. Like a couple of years ago, Aaron Rodgers is going to the Jets. I couldn't tell who told me that because that would have been a disaster, but it was true. It's the only way you get stuff like that. So, but you have to interpret that. It has to be interpreted by the person receiving the information.
So I thought that was just a very interesting tidbit. And it also is true. Like, for as long as it continues, you're never going to have someone put their name on it, the source of like, hey, per source. And then someone like quote tweets it and goes, hi, it's me. I'm Kevin. I just broke this news. Like, because what happened, that person will be screwed. They would. But it is a part of it, right? This is how this day and age is. It's how it's been. Sometimes it creates change. Sometimes it creates havoc. But you know what it does? That does create stories, and people love it, and that's all good to an extent. Because once it gets ugly, sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Well, I was going to say, I love how you put it up for interpretation, because I'll take our interview yesterday with Todd Monken. Todd Monken said, hey, me and Lamar don't have a bad relationship. He's like, could it have been better? Yeah, but we never had a problem. Like, it was good. And 9 out of 10 people took that, that line and were like, oh, he debunked the thing about their thing. But I saw one article get written and it said, Todd Monken confirms his relationship with Lamar could have been better. So it's up for interpretation. It's like if you just, say me and Lamar were fine, could have been better. Yeah, everything could have been better, but we never had an issue. That's one way. That's taking and going with it, being like, this is that. But if your source tells you that and one person decides, oh, so they're saying it could have been better, and that's what they run with, well, that might not have been what the source was really trying to tell you, but that's how you interpreted it. And I think that's kind of what Trey was talking about, where it's all about when you get this information, how you interpret it and put it out there. You can take anything verbatim and, it's just copycat. But I think that's how these leaks get out of hand, because there's always some truth to it. If there's a leak, it's coming, like Trey said, it's coming from somewhere. But Monken says, oh, yeah, it could have been better, but it's fine. Like, yeah, we're totally fine. We're all good. We got along great. And someone just heard, oh, it could have been better. Then they go out and tell someone, yeah, did you see Todd Monken? He said that he and Lamar, it could have been better. Then they put out, oh, they didn't have a great relationship. Well, it started somewhere, but this is how we got to that point. It's all about how you interpret things and how things are presented to you. So, yeah, is there probably some smoke somewhere? But that smoke could be from a lighter, and some people are acting like it's from a forest fire.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? For a second, you guys come here. So I want to tell you guys a story when I was in the minor league. Yeah, no, you don't like it? I think it's great. Let me tell you a quick story. When I was in the minor leagues in 2018, I was in low A playing for the Delmarva Shorebirds. Buck Britton was our manager. First year. So it's Buck Britton's now the third base manager for the Orioles. Now, I want to explain something for us. We started off 7-0. And everyone's humming, everyone's feeling good. And we think we're going to be the greatest team of all time in the minor leagues. And then we sucked. And then we had the reset in the middle of the season, Zach, that we just talked about. And guess what? Off to a good start. And then we sucked again. And during this whole period of time, I was going through some personal things in my own life, right? There's a lot of things outside of the game that were really hard. And I'm also trying to have success. My hitting coach at the time, his name Bobby Rose. And Bobby and he was going through personal things as well. And he actually had a terrible hip, but we were playing bad and we both had personal things going on and things got tense. And I'm sitting there, and sometimes if you looked at it from the outside, you could think, well, this is bad. And that's just with me, right? Flash forward the next year, he's my hitting coach in Frederick. And I can tell you what, he's one of the biggest reasons why I got back on track and got promoted. He was a great resource to me. And I think that's what happens here in sports. I think people get caught in moments where some people might be frustrated, some people might get tense, but it's not because it's a bad relationship. It could be for a lot of different circumstances. And that to me is my example. I live that. And when you're on teams, and this is in the minors, we're talking about in the NFL with one of the best teams in the whole damn league with some of the best talent, Super Bowl favorites, contenders, all eyes are on you to win. So if this is happening where I was, no doubt you're having tense moments in there. And that's what Todd was talking about. If people aren't getting the ball, they're going to be upset. Does it mean that you hate each other? Absolutely not. So I think it's a good point. And sources, you have to take your information for what it is. And you're right, Zach, it can be thrown around left and right. But to this next point, because we have Gary Myers coming on in 10 minutes. He's been really following the John Harbaugh situation, especially with the Giants. But Zach, with sources, there are some reports about where John Harbaugh could go. Now, the Giants will save it for Gary, but there's this story coming out, Zach, of, well, wait a minute, what about Cleveland? Kev, what about Cleveland staying in the division? You would be an icon, a legend if you go there and win. Well, according to sources, I guess this was in ESPN Cleveland radio, John Harbaugh could have interest, but he has these demands, according to these sources. So, Zach, can we play that clip real quick?
League insider who speculates on what he's heard about Harbaugh's prerequisites to even be interested in your job.
Okay.
$20 million a year.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. $10 million assistant coach budget.
Not a problem.
Okay. Total authority over the roster. And also would like to select his own guy to lean on, personnel guy.
Okay, so would he be making the draft picks? Like, you're going to ask this guy? That kind of makes me feel uneasy. Does he want more say over the roster than what he had in Baltimore?
Yes.
Ooh.
Which would be a total change in the structure here. I think there are 4 definite candidates for Harbaugh to end up with. Cleveland now is, I think, 4th.
Okay.
Miami,
the Giants,
and Atlanta.
So, according to some sources, the speculation, these are the demands, Kev, of what John Harbaugh could want. Now, again, I'm sure that there is some truth that, hey, if I'm John Harbaugh, you want to get paid. You earn that bank. But for some of this, it's intriguing. But I think all of us can agree, Kev, and I'm curious, but I have a pretty good idea. If John were to take a job in Cleveland, he's going to want to feel like he can do it his way. And Cleveland's going to have to be able to oblige. If not, John's not going to waste his time because Cleveland has been an organization that's been dysfunctional since they came back into the NFL when the Ravens came to Baltimore.
Yeah, there's been a lot of speculation about Harbaugh. And the whole salary stuff, that's kind of just like, that's not the big part of the story here. It's, to me, obviously the control over the roster. And, John Harbaugh clearly has favorites and clearly has guys that he likes. And, we know that John Harbaugh doghouse is very real too. But, for Cleveland, who already does have Andrew Berry and they did not move on from Andrew Berry, you look at the Giants who have Joe Shane and a bunch of other GM candidates already in there. It essentially becomes a Liam Cohen situation where you're going to fire a guy that you already have in your building to bring in this other coach that you really think can help you out. And I think the answer for some of these teams is yes, because it's not unprecedented anymore, where we've seen it. We saw it last year with Trent Baalke in Jacksonville, where, that whole situation and how that all turned out was Liam Cohen wanted his guy or he didn't want Baalke. And Jacksonville said, all right, we like you more than we like him. And I think that in Miami, all indications, it felt like, all right, McDaniel's going to come back and they're going to do their thing. And he wasn't fired. He had a press conference. And then all of a sudden, John Harbaugh becomes available. And Miami says, hold that thought. And I'm not saying they fired him because of John Harbaugh, but I think that they certainly took into account who was available on the head coaching market. So it's interesting because, you know, with Harbaugh, and again, I don't know how much influence he had in Baltimore. You know, Eric Costa's the guy there, and he makes a lot of decisions there. But I'm sure, just like any other team, the head coach and the GM probably don't align on every single player. You know, probably have different thoughts on different guys. And while, again, you're not going to probably have the same affinity for certain guys. I mean, that's the whole scouting and draft process, right? Like, you have scouts bang the table for guys, and the GM says, oh, well, all right, we're going to rock with you. Or, no, I'm going to make my own decision. So everybody has different feelings. But for John Harbaugh, if the reports are true, and again, there's so many different things out there about how he thought he was going to be able to run it back with his current staff, and Steve Bisciotti was
You actually
like,
can you confirm the reports right now, Kevin?
Can I
just confirm?
I don't know.
Did you just confirm for everyone? Right?
No, I did
just
not.
Put on
No,
record that you're
Kevin.
Man, I've broken news twice in my life, and I'm done with it. So no, I'm not breaking news right here. But if those reports are true, if they are true, then it doesn't shock me that Harbaugh would want control. Now, I don't know if a team would or would not give him that, but you're essentially hiring him for a coach GM role in that case. And that would probably demand a $15-20 million per year salary. So it's interesting for sure.
Yeah. Two things. One, I saw someone ask, I think it was Kieran, highest paid NFL coach right now is Andy Reid at $20 million. Harbaugh was at 17 last year, so he's looking for a little pay increase. But I want to ask you guys this. Are we sure these are John Harbaugh's requirements for him to be interested in a team? Or are these John Harbaugh's requirements to be interested in Cleveland? Because you look at their setup with Barry, like there's not been a lot of success. Is this, hey, I want control over the roster, I want control over this? Is he saying that? And I'll even say it's probably going to go for the Giants, because I don't know if you can really, they kind of saved it with Dart and Scattaboo, but the Giants have had their mistakes for sure. I just personally, I think it's going to be, if he trusts the front office that he's with, I think it's going to be less control. I think he trusted Eric DeCosta. I don't think he wanted full reins of the roster in Baltimore because he trusted EDC. That was his guy. If you're going to Cleveland and I'm John Harbaugh, I'm probably going to say, I'll come here, but I need a pay raise. I need $10 million so I can bring in my staff because I want the guys. You know, I'm not just going on a budget here to put this together. John Harbaugh is saying these are my prerequisites if I'm coming to save your franchise. If maybe you got something like Miami, now the whole Tua thing and all of that, but they've got some things to work with. I don't know if that's for every team or if that's hey, if you want me to come to Cleveland, you're going to have to give me the promise or the deal that, hey, I got to have say over this roster. I don't think John's drafting anyone, but I don't think it's going to be John Harbaugh in the war room. He's at the head of the table. Everyone else is there. And, Andrew Barry is on the side and he's like, John's like, this is my draft. I don't think it's that, but I think he's going to be someone who, when he looks at the roster, he looks at free agents, he looks at other guys, he wants to bring in his guys.
I think at the end of the day, we talked about this. It's in baseball, it's in basketball, football, anything, life, business, take it across any corporation. Typically, if you're talking about people in positions of power, you do better when you're aligned on what you want, what your vision is. So if you are the NFL, it's a business. This is a business. You're making business decisions, and you are trying to make one of the two most important hires here for your team. If it's the GM and the head coach, you better make sure that those guys get along, because if they don't, then what the hell is going on? What are you trying to do? And I think for John, that's the big part here, is who does he want to be aligned with? And the owner's got to make that decision on how does he see fit. And I think that that's the part where, like Cleveland, that's a part that you're looking at right there. Would John feel aligned and feel comfortable going to Cleveland, who historically has had a lot of shit going on consistently? Giants, I know the last decades now has been a little bit murky, but before that, who are they aligned with? Well, at least on the head coach quarterback side, they had Coughlin and Eli Manning, won 2 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
Their alignment, even from the front office down, was very solid. So I think that that's where I'm curious to see it all go. And I'm really curious when our guest comes on here, Gary Myers, because he's had the pulse. And guys, if you've been looking on X, he's been really reading in to the John Harbaugh situation here, because people are wondering, outside of the Giants or the Browns, where does he go? What else are the options here? Raiders, I think, Zach, you mentioned it earlier. That'd be a 3. Like, you have to make sure that you're okay with a full rebuild, and that's a hell no. That's a hell to the no.
Unless John Harbaugh is sitting there and he is obsessed with Fernando Mendoza. That is the only way, is if he genuinely sits there and he thinks that Fernando Mendoza is the guy that he can take under his wing for the next 10 years, and he's going to bank on that. Raiders makes no sense.
Yep.
Unless he goes there and part of his I want full control over the roster is sending Max Crosby to Baltimore as a parting gift. That would be cool. Then let's stamp it and get it done.
Sign and trade for Daniel Falele. There you go.
Oh, good. Good thinking, Kev. Good thinking, Kev. We'll add that in.
Yeah. Write that down. Write that down. You know, the teams to win now, right? Like at this exact moment, I think the Giants can turn it around pretty quickly. I think the Atlanta Falcons can turn it around just because you have arguably a top 5 wide receiver and running back and Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Quarterback situation is murky, but they got talent on the defensive side. But the Giants are very intriguing.
And I also, one thing that I have been trying to hammer home is that we might not be done with the firings. You know, there are a couple of teams that could lose on wildcard weekend that might say, hey, you know what? This isn't good enough. Much like Baltimore said, this is not good enough. And now I don't think John Harbaugh would go to Pittsburgh if they fired Mike Tomlin. I don't even want to, I feel icky for just putting that in the air. It's gross, but
you say icky?
Yeah, I did. You know, I feel gross for saying icky too.
Does that keep the streak alive?
Of what?
If Harbaugh and Tomlin swap, it keeps the streak of like Ravens, Steelers, Harbaugh, Tomlin going technically.
I think people would probably track both, but I mean, technically, I guess so. But
has that ever happened before?
There's no way.
Not to that level, I don't think.
Yeah, I was going to say not to like in division level. Maybe
not to the level of like hated rivals, like same year. I mean, I don't think so. But like, it's not just Pittsburgh either. Were you going to say something about Pittsburgh, Zach?
Well, yeah, I was going to say real fast. Like, I don't see that happen, but it could happen on a lesser level. Let's just put it out there because it is a real possibility right now.
I'm going to say
Stefanski and if Harbaugh goes to Cleveland, Stefanski comes to Baltimore.
That'd be crazy. Yeah. Which again, yes, the Ravens did interview him. I know you guys probably talked about that already, but it's not just Pittsburgh in the playoffs. Like I know that Packers fans are a little uneasy about LaFleur. I don't think LaFleur gets fired personally, but I know some Packers fans
would love it. Come on, interview
for Baltimore. But the one that's my hot take, and this is my hot take, is that to me it's Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
If Buffalo loses, that fan base, much like in Baltimore and in Pittsburgh, is very impatient with Sean McDermott right now. And this is an opportunity for Josh Allen. Although that defense has not been good this year, have some questions with the pass catching weapons a little bit. But this is a playoffs with no Patrick Mahomes, no Lamar Jackson, and no Joe Burrow. So, you know, there are a lot of good young teams that are up and coming, but there are a lot of those teams are unknowns. And so I think with what we've talked about, there is no favorite in the AFC right now. Anybody could come out of that conference. And I think the Bills have a good shot too. But if this is a one and done, because I think Jacksonville's a heck of a team, does Buffalo move on from McDermott? So there are all those possibilities. There's a lot to talk about with it. And I'm sure this situation it might take a little while to develop fully.
Probably will, just like everything. It's you want an answer right, meow, but that's not going to happen here, Kevin. But we are going to have continued conversations because some teams are going to have to make decisions. And John Harbaugh specifically is going to have to identify who he would want to possibly be employed by. And he's going to have multiple choices. But our next guest is going to join us here in a second. I think has a very good pulse on that so far. And I'm very intrigued because it does involve the one team that John's been linked to so far, probably arguably the most in this process. But before we do that here and we head back into the rest of our guests in the stream, let's talk about the other stream real quickly. Zach, can we pull up AutoStream Car Care Center real quickly?
Yep. Oh, hit the wrong button. So now it's going to be a little more delayed.
Over under 3 seconds. And Gary, when this is done, give me a thumbs up when you're ready to rock and roll.
Boom. There we go.
All right. So right there, our friends over at AutoStream Car Care Center, we just partnered with them for 2026. I can't say that's the best photo of me, but you know what? The hair actually looks worse there. But this is a good deal to start off. $50 off when you mention Ryan Ripken at any of the 10 locations. You can't combine the offers, but $50 off any service. And we have a lot more coming with AutoStream Car Care Center. So appreciate them. So from one stream, now let's come back to this stream, Zach. And Gary, give me a thumbs up when you're ready to rock and roll. Boom. All right. So you probably have seen some activity around X. And the reason why I thought Gary could be an excellent person to talk to, well, guess what? He's got a great pulse on the New York Giants. And if you guys are looking back, he has a book specifically on the Giants called Once a Giant. So if we want to talk to someone about the New York Giants, John Harbaugh is the perfect time to do it. Ladies and gentlemen, let's bring on Gary Myers. Gary, you there?
I am here, Ryan. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing terrific. Thanks.
So got to start with a couple things. And maybe for those that don't know with you, you have quite a connection to the Giants here. Do you mind elaborating on before we get into some questions around a former head coach here in Baltimore?
You're talking about Brian Billick?
Yes, that's the one that we're talking about.
Okay. I've pretty much been around the Giants since the late 70s, except for a period of time in the 80s when I worked in Dallas covering the Cowboys. But I've been around the Giants a lot now since 1989 when I moved back from Dallas. I did that book that you mentioned, Ryan, about called Once a Giant, A Story of Victory, Tragedy, and Life After Football. It's about the 86 team that won Super Bowl 21, and it's about the brotherhood they formed winning that championship together, and how now coming up on the 40-year anniversary this season, the new season, that they've remained a brotherhood. And as they've grown old together and some of them need each other's help, they've all kind of stepped forward and they're taking care of each other. So that was really a fun book to do. I think it was a meaningful book as well.
Well, that's fantastic. And it's a lot of storylines. And the Giants are a historic franchise in general here. And they are now trying to add, just like in Baltimore, it's a new chapter, a new era. But the Giants, at least in this case, compared to Baltimore, it's been a rough road here for a little bit. And they're looking for some stability. Now, you have been reporting quite a bit about the interest the New York Giants have in John Harbaugh. And I've seen the tweets. Could you fill us in a little bit more on what you're hearing as it comes to the interest level and how things could heat up here? Because it does seem like there is the mutual interest for John Harbaugh to be the next coach of the New York Football Giants.
Yeah, I mean, the Giants have shown a tremendous amount of interest, staying in constant communication with John's representatives and, just waiting now to get their in-person meeting with him. I know they're going to start scheduling the meetings on Monday. Doesn't mean the first meeting is going to be Monday. They're going to start making a schedule of all the teams that would like to meet with him. I don't know if they're all going to come to Baltimore or John's going to make the trips to the individual cities, but he's probably going to have his choice on where he wants to go for the most part. Now, I'm prejudiced. I spent most of my life in New York, and there's something to be said for winning a championship in New York, and especially with such a historic franchise that it's been, down. Their last Super Bowl was the year before the Ravens won their second Super Bowl. But it's been pretty bleak. They've only made the playoffs twice since then, and the last 10 years they've had one or two good seasons, and won one playoff game basically since 2011, and coming off back-to-back seasons now where they've won a total of 7 games. So they need somebody who can come in and immediately change the culture, command respect in the locker room, give the organization credibility with the fans, and turn this thing around. They have a lot of good young talent, starting with a quarterback in Jackson Dart, who I really like. And so I think the Giants really have an excellent opportunity now to bring in John. And it depends if he likes the structure, and I don't think money will be an issue.
I don't think money's going to be an issue either. I think, John, there's a lot of different reports and what's going out there, right? And we do know one thing is if you're going to go to a new team, how much do you want to be linked with the quarterback that's at the helm? Now, Jackson Dart is a stud, and if you like him, it's a perfect opportunity. Talent on the offense with a franchise quarterback potentially. Defensive side, you have talent. You have a high pick in the draft. There's a lot to like there, and maybe we just had Todd Monken on yesterday, Gary, and we were texting behind, and we can talk about that here in a second. But the other issue when we're hearing sources or things going out there was, would Harbaugh want his own GM? And I saw you tweet this out here earlier, so I'm going to pull it up on the screen. Oh, that's the wrong tweet that I had. Sorry, of course I do this on the wrong one. This is every time we can guarantee I'm going to mess something up here, Gary. That's just the way it goes. Let's see. I think this might be the winner. Let's try it again.
Yeah.
Right here. So you were saying that there's been some contention, I know, in the New York media as it comes to the current GM up there in New York. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on this tweet? Because this has been a very interesting conversation. I know Giants fans have had a lot of different feelings, especially how the last couple of years have gone during this specific regime in New York.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's safe to say that Joe Schoen is not the most popular guy in Giants Nation, if you want to call him that. He's whiffed on a lot of high draft picks. He let Saquon Barkley walk to Philadelphia as a free agent. Obviously, no compensation in return. Gave an outrageous contract to Daniel Jones that set the organization back a couple of years. Had the 5th and 7th pick in the draft a few years ago. Took Kayvon Thibodeau, who's just been okay, and Evan Neal, who has been unable to get on the field, and I'm sure he's not going to be back next year. So Giant fans are not happy with him. And when Brian Daboll got fired a couple months ago, they decided to keep Schoen and put him in charge of organizing the information on a coaching search. And a lot of people took that to mean that over the last couple of months, Schoen would just present to John Mara and Steve Tisch, the two owners, a list of potential coaches. And then depending on how the season played out, Schoen himself could get fired. I never looked at it like that because that's not the Giants' way of doing things. They weren't going to have Schoen do all this work and then the day after the season said, thanks, hand over your, manila folders and, leave your key to the washroom with the front desk. They don't do it like that. So I'm not surprised that Schoen is still here. Now, if John Harbaugh comes in and meets with them and said, listen, I'd love to have this job, but I want my own GM, or Schoen can stay, but I want to have more control over personnel, all that can potentially happen. But that's an unknown at this point. And I've seen so many people reporting that John refuses to work with Joe Schoen. If the Giants don't fire Schoen, they got no chance of getting him. I can tell you for certain, to this point, that conversation has not taken place with Harbaugh and the people closest to him. And it certainly hasn't taken place with the Giants because he hasn't spoken to the Giants yet. And his agent has not told that to the Giants. So people are surmising that because Shane's record is not so good and his public image is horrible among Giant fans, that no coach of John's stature is going to want to work with him. And that's just not true. It may wind up being true, but as we're sitting here right now, it's not true. And he did pick a quarterback in the draft. Now, I know Jackson Dart was Dable's guy, but that trade wouldn't have gotten made if Schoen didn't want to do it. And Schoen has said, that Dart was his guy too. I'm not sure exactly what the truth is on that one, but when you make a good pick, everybody wants to lay claim to it, and when you bomb on a pick, it was the other guy's fault. I'd say they both wanted him, and Shane pulled the trigger on it, but wouldn't have done it unless Dable really wanted him. And they do have some good young players here, but again, somebody of John Harbaugh's stature might, if he has 3 or 4 opportunities, might be in a position to leverage and get who he wants and get the structure around him the way he wants it. I don't know Harbaugh to be that kind of guy that's going to walk in and want people to get fired without even knowing them. I don't know how you do something like that. Would Belichick do something like that? Absolutely. Would Parcells? Yeah. I don't know if John is that kind of guy.
Yeah, John has a great reputation through all of the football world, and it's been documented. And obviously, we mentioned that you authored Once a Giant, also authored Brady versus Belichick, the Dynasty Debate. So you're very well versed in this whole conversation. You've seen a lot of football throughout the years, and different coaches have different styles.
Mm-hmm.
But at least in John Harbaugh's case, I think he's very open-minded, but he's going to want to do things at least the way he thinks he can to have success. But Kevin, I think you had a follow-up question.
Yeah, I do. Gary, I'm curious because obviously John Harbaugh's the hottest head coaching candidate on the market. A lot of teams are lining up to potentially just even have a chance to get his services. But I'm curious if you have any information on it, or if you don't, I'm just curious to hear your opinion in general on specifically for the Giants, the why factor here. For any of these teams, the why factor. Is this for New York in specific? Do they trust his ability to lead men? Do they trust his ability to work with Jackson Dart and develop him? Do they trust the culture he built in Baltimore? If he does have, roster control somewhere or some say over the roster, do they trust his ability there? For John Harbaugh, I mean, he has a lot of great redeeming qualities. It's what made him stay in Baltimore for 18 seasons before ultimately getting let go. But for you, the fact that he's a big name and he's had the success, the Super Bowl, the playoff success early in his career, and all of that has made him into the coach he is today. But in your opinion, or anything you've heard, what are kind of the things that these teams see in John Harbaugh that do make him the most popular choice to take over?
Well, specifically to the Giants, just think about the 4 coaches they've had since Tom Coughlin was let go after the 2015 season. Ben McAdoo, a first-time head coach. Pat Shurmur, who was 9-23 in 2 years in Cleveland. Somehow they felt he would do better with the Giants. You know what his record was in 2 years with the Giants? 9-23. Very consistent coach. Stays 2 years, 9-23, gets fired. Then Joe Judge, a special teams coach, like Harbaugh was, a special teams coach for the Patriots, who was way over his head, lasted 2 years. And then Dable, who made the playoffs in his first year and won Coach of the Year. And, the Giants thought they found their guy, and then they got progressively worse over the last 3 years. So they're looking for somebody that is established, that comes in with a tremendous amount of credibility, that they don't have to sell to their fans like this is an up-and-coming guy. We just got to grow with him. Giant fans have no patience for growing with a coach anymore. They want somebody that's going to step in, command the room immediately, and lend credibility back to the organization. Now, as far as Harbaugh is concerned, he's more of a CEO type. I've always gotten that impression. He delegates to his offense and defensive coordinator and his special teams coach. And then he runs the game management on Sundays or Mondays or Thursdays and sometimes Wednesdays, depending what time. Pretty soon it'll be Tuesday afternoons, But John he's an organizer. He's a delegator. He's a great face of the franchise. And I think that's what's attractive for the Giants, considering what's been going on here for the better part of 10 years. They had a lot of success with Tom Coughlin. They won 2 Super Bowls with Tom. And, Tom was one of theirs because he had been an assistant here for 3 years, but then he went to Jacksonville and took an expansion team to 2 AFC championship games in the first 2, 3, 4 years, something like that. So they knew what they were getting in Coughlin. But he had never been a head coach in New York, and he was only a head coach in Jacksonville for a few years, where John has been a head coach for 18 years, and his track record is pretty well established. I think the only negative to Harbaugh really is how come he couldn't get into a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, who's been the most dynamic player in the league for a number of years now? Why do they always seem to be blowing leads in the playoffs or in big regular season games? Case in point, what happened in the season opener this year, which they really never seemed to recover from. I know they then had a bunch of injuries and got off to a horrible start, but the team didn't quit, coming back from 1-5, and within that missed field goal, I think under the circumstances, if Tyler Luke tried that field goal 100 times, under those, winning you're in, losing you go home, and how hard it is to kick field goals in that stadium, he would have missed it about 85 times out of 100. Because you saw what happened on the extra point on the previous series with Boswell, who's a really good kicker who knows how to kick in that stadium, and he wasn't close on the extra point. So I wasn't surprised at all from 44 yards that Luke missed it. But just think how things might have been different if he hits that field goal. And I thought the Ravens were my preseason pick to win the Super Bowl. I really thought this was their year, and I'm not alone in that.
Yeah.
You're not, Gary. You're not alone with that.
I know.
We all did.
Yeah, and just think about if they had won that game in Pittsburgh after winning the game in Green Bay the week before, they would have played who at home this week?
Texans.
Right. Okay. So I know they got annihilated by them earlier in the year, but I don't think Lamar played in that game, right?
No.
Yeah, no Lamar.
Yeah.
No one played in that game.
Yeah.
Both physically, a lot of guys didn't play, and then they also didn't show up for the game as well.
I mean, half the defense seemed to be on injured reserve for half the season. So I thought all the Ravens needed to do was to get in, and then just give the ball to Travis Henry. I was even surprised in that last series in Pittsburgh last week that they were throwing more than I thought he'd be ready to bust one and get him much closer. But I know they were a bunch in the line of scrimmage, and maybe they felt the better thing to do was to try to throw it. I thought they had a chance to score a touchdown there, and should have been a little more aggressive trying to do that than trusting a rookie kicker. But again, if they had gotten in, I think they could have done some business in the playoffs this year, as long as everybody was healthy. Lamar never looked healthy to me coming back. He just seemed to have lost his burst, and I didn't think that he was looking to run like he had, during those years that made him so dangerous. But listen, they have now the most attractive opening in the league. I'm interested to see, is it going to be like a guy like Cliff Kingsbury who can, be creative with Lamar before it seems that Kingsbury can last 2-3 years before he wears out his welcome wherever he is. But, maybe he can get Lamar to that next level.
I mean, time will tell. It's a coveted job, no doubt about it. And it's going to be interesting. The Ravens haven't been in this position in 18 years. 18 years ago, they chose a head coach that people probably didn't expect. And maybe that'll be the case here in Baltimore. But it sounds like in New York, Gary, it's a pretty good idea of the idea or the candidates that the Giants do want. And time will tell then next week of when things start to heat up, where that direction will go. Before we let you go, Gary, where else can people find you and everything else that's going on with you, and including some of your publications?
Yeah, I do a radio show on ESPN here in New York on Saturday afternoons. Next couple of weeks, I'll be on from 4 to 7. Then after that, through Super Bowl at noon, which is my usual time. And people, in your area who'd like to listen to it, you just download the ESPN New York app. And I have an interview tomorrow at 6 o'clock with Matt Burke, who you guys are familiar with in Baltimore.
Yep.
I taped it this afternoon. Apparently he's got like 8 kids, and Saturday afternoons are impossible. So we taped it this afternoon, and he was very insightful about what it's like to play for John Harbaugh, and kind of related it to how he would do in the New York market. Then I'm on Twitter, and I've been busy writing books. So, and I'm actually teaching a class at Syracuse next semester, my alma mater. So I'm excited about doing that.
So you're staying busy, is what you're saying?
Yeah,
a little bit
bored. I mean, if it's the summer, if we had weather like San Diego, I can easily be happily retired. But what are you going to do when it's 15 or 35 degrees outside in the middle of January? I just as soon stay busy than freeze my behind off. So.
You could, but yeah, I think San Diego weather is a little bit more appealing, unless you're a winter guy. But I'll be honest, man, that's too damn cold for me. It gets down too much. I don't know about that, but Gary, I appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time. I'm really curious to see what's next for the New York Giants, just like we're going to see what's going to happen here for the Baltimore Ravens.
All right, take care, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Gary.
you, Gary Myers, everybody. I find it interesting that, the thoughts of the Giants really like him. I mean, I think we already knew that, but the Giants really like Harbaugh. It just depends on what will be the next steps. Hi, Kevin, Zach.
Hello.
How's it going?
How's it going? I think we're kind of good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a good. I like the perspective there. I like this perspective.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, again, because I think it's almost like this is what people thought it was going to be like for Belichick. I feel like everybody coveting, and I know that Belichick's exit was more just like, oh, the Patriots are just kind of like meh, so like whatever. But I mean, this is one of the biggest like head coaching sweepstakes for an established guy in a while, because like Ben Johnson, like first time head coach OC, like that was a sweepstakes in itself, and there have been others, but like this is like the biggest story in sports right now. So it
is.
I'm curious, and the more I think about it, like that Cleveland job is, how much interest is there with that? That'd be something.
Touch it.
That'd be. I mean, I wouldn't either, but I mean, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, that was my I don't know if I do. That was my celebration I did on when Shedeur beat the Steelers. I put on my glasses and I did the
Never change, Kevin. Never change.
So maybe this will just be John Harbaugh with the glasses and the watch and Shedeur Sanders. My hot take is still Buffalo, though. That's my hot take.
Yeah.
Because if Buffalo loses in the first round, I think at least Bean is getting fired.
And you might have to if you want Harbaugh.
Yeah.
Time will tell.
And Baltimore does go to Buffalo next season.
Is there a more obvious week one matchup if Harbaugh goes to Buffalo?
Oh no, not that. That would be it.
That's Monday night That's Monday Night Football. Actually, no, that's probably. Although I don't think
they could just run it back to have it Sunday night again.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football. It's going to be at their new stadium.
They're
going to make us.
So I was going to say that would be 4 straight primetime games technically, because they ended 3 this year, and then. Although it's gonna be some NFC or AFC championship matchup that gets the Sunday night this year or next year.
Yeah.
Over Harbaugh coaching the Bills against.
I don't know. If it's like.
Disagree.
Like I could see them doing Denver, New England. I could see them doing like Seattle and someone. Maybe San Fran makes it. They do Seattle, San Fran. I don't know.
San Fran.
I don't even know if the bracket lines up that way. Honestly, I'm just thinking.
Harbaugh back to Philly.
Wow. They might fire their old coordinator, and then you could because
too much rumor mill for me. Too much heel cinnamon. We're done.
Did you hear the T. Martin stuff?
Yeah, I did just see that he's interviewing for
OC jobs with.
Good for him.
Good for him.
Commanders in Detroit.
Good for him. Hey, good for us. I think that's going to do it here.
Yep.
For this episode, we're going to get into the weekend here, guys. It's been one hell of a week. We'll be back next week. 3 to 5 is a new start time here on the channel. And I want to shout out all of our channel members, the good kids, better kids. Appreciate you guys. Have a whole hell of a lot of content coming here in 2026. Baseball season's right around the corner. We might have a special interview guest on Monday Spoiler alert. I'll tell the channel members moving forward, but allegedly he played for the Orioles.
Allegedly.
It's me, guys. Sorry.
Come in.
Okay. Sparking rumors, but let's see if the music works. Does it work?
Yep.
Wow. I'm on the way out here, guys. Auto stream $50 off the events for Ryan Ripken. Hey, how you doing? And also, shout out Eric, appreciate Eric, for all of us here at the Ryan Show. Have a good day. Have a great stinking weekend. Come back and join us here next week from 3 to 5, right here on YouTube, X, and Facebook.